The acrid scent of plasma discharge hung heavy in the air as Captain Riker Vale stepped through the wreckage of what had once been the Ethrin Royal Citadel. Ionized smoke burned his lungs through the filters. The sky above the shattered palace churned with retreating dropships and falling debris, streaks of fire carving scars through violet clouds. Somewhere to his right, a ruptured grav engine wailed like a dying animal before collapsing into silence. His boots crushed shattered alloy and spent casings. Fragments of crystalline spires littered the courtyard like broken glass from a god's window. Ornate alien banners, once shimmering with royal sigils, lay scorched and trampled into the ash. The air tasted metallic. Bitter. The battlefield was silent. Too silent. Vale adjusted the grip on his VX-9 pulse rifle, the weapon humming softly as it recycled charge. His tactical HUD flickered across his visor, ammo at 32%. Shield integrity fluctuating. Suit servos compensating for microfractures along his left thigh plate. A warning ping echoed in his earpiece. Extraction window. 4 minutes. Priority objective. Evacuate human personnel. Non-human assets. Abandon. His jaw tightened. He moved deeper into the collapsed courtyard, scanning through thermal, motion, and biosignature overlays. Stone columns lay split in half. A royal transport burned on its side, engines still ticking as they cooled. "Command, this is Vale," he muttered. Static answered. He switched channels. Nothing. His HUD pulsed again as it completed a wide-spectrum sweep. No friendly signals. No squad markers. No medevac beacon. Just him. And one faint, flickering life sign beneath the rubble of the Eastern Wing, classified earlier as Ethrin Royal Priority, Princess Lyrie. Vale swallowed, eyes locking on to the blinking indicator. He might be the last one standing. And they had ordered him to leave her behind. Vale vaulted a fractured balustrade and moved toward the Eastern Wing, pulse rifle tracking every shadow. His HUD pulsed. Life sign, weak. Fluctuating. Movement detected. Beneath a collapsed arch of luminous stone, half buried under splintered crystal and scorched masonry, lay a figure that didn't belong to the smoke and ruin. At first, she looked like part of the shattered palace itself. Her skin shimmered like polished moonstone, fractured by thin veins of bioluminescent silver that pulsed faintly beneath the surface. Long, filament-like tendrils, once arranged in elaborate royal braids, spilled across the debris, their faint glow dimmed by ash. A circlet of living crystal rested crooked against her temple, its facets cracked but still catching the dying light. Translucent membranes, delicate and wing-like, folded tightly against her back, torn in several places. Blood the color of liquid starlight seeped from beneath her shoulder, evaporating in soft, luminous vapor when it touched the air. Princess Lyrie of Ethrin. He recognized her from diplomatic briefings, from hollow projections, from grainy intelligence captures. She had commanded fleets. She had negotiated ceasefires. She had stood unarmed before human admirals and spoken with steady, measured authority. Now she was pinned beneath a slab of collapsed throne room architecture. Her eyes opened. Sharp. Intelligent. Defiant. Twin irises glowed with a soft inner radiance, violet edged in gold, as they locked onto his visor. "You are human," she said, her voice soft but layered with harmonic undertones, like two notes resonating at once. "Yeah," Vale answered, stepping closer. Her gaze flicked to his rifle, to the insignia on his armor, to the burning skyline beyond him. "You were ordered to withdraw," she said. Not a question. He didn't answer. Her breathing hitched almost imperceptibly. "Leave me." Not pleading. Commanding. He extended his gauntlet and activated his medical scanner. A lattice of blue light mapped her body in precise layers. The readout scrolled rapidly. Multiple rib fractures. Left wing membrane shredded beyond immediate regeneration. Severe internal hemorrhaging. Neurological instability from blunt force trauma. Estimated survival probability without advanced care, 6%. Estimated survival probability during standard battlefield extraction, 2%. She wasn't just injured. She was dying. "The palace shields failed," she said quietly, as if explaining a tactical error. "My guard retreated per evacuation protocol." "They left you," Vale said. They preserved the bloodline. Her luminous markings flickered weaker. "Your command will not authorize delay for me," she continued. "Human survival metrics outweigh diplomatic sentiment." His calm crackled back to life for half a second. "Captain Vale. Exfil now. Repeat. Leave the alien asset." Static swallowed the channel again. His scanner confirmed it. She wouldn't survive extraction under standard load. Protocol was clear. Evacuate. Preserve human assets. Abandon foreign royalty. Vale stared at her, at the cracks in her living crown, at the fading light beneath her skin, at the pride that refused to bend even as her body failed. Her eyes never left his. Waiting. He reached for the slab pinning her shoulder, and ignored the protocol. "Like hell," Vale muttered. He wedged his shoulder beneath the fractured slab and pushed. His exosuit whined as servos compensated, warning glyphs flashing red across his HUD. Load limit approaching. Structural integrity compromised. "File a complaint," he growled. With a burst of hydraulic force, the slab shifted. Stone shrieked against stone before crashing aside in a spray of crystalline dust. The impact sent a tremor through the ruined throne room. Princess Lyrie did not cry out. She simply watched him. Up close, the damage was worse. The glow beneath her skin flickered unevenly. Fine fractures spiderwebbed along her shoulder where the masonry had crushed her. One translucent wing membrane hung at an unnatural angle. "You waste time," she said, breath thin but steady. "Your extraction window narrows." Vale slung his rifle across his back and crouched beside her. "Yeah," he said. "Happens when I ignore orders." He slid one arm beneath her shoulders, careful of the shattered membrane, and the other beneath her knees. She was lighter than he expected, dense in some places, almost weightless in others, like her bones carried internal lattices instead of marrow. Her luminous eyes studied him with open calculation. "You are aware," she said, "that saving me does not alter the tactical outcome of this battle." "Probably not. It may reduce your species' survival probability." "Also possible." He lifted. The suit's servos hissed sharply, compensating for her weight and his cracked thigh plate. Pain flared along his ribs, but he kept his footing. "You are illogical, human," she observed. He adjusted her gently against his chest and started toward the shattered courtyard. "Yeah," he grinned behind his visor. "It's kind of our thing." A faint flicker, almost amusement, touched her bioluminescent markings before fading. "You mistake compassion for strength," she said. "Among my people, rulers survive by calculated detachment." "Maybe that's the problem." She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "You believe attachment is strength? I believe leaving someone to die when you could have helped is weakness." The words hung between them, heavier than the rubble. Her gaze shifted past him to the burning skyline of her fallen city. "My guard followed protocol," she said quietly. "And I'm not your guard." Another tremor shook the palace. Distant engines roared as human dropships pulled away. "You will be alone," she warned. He tightened his hold, stepping over fractured stone. "Not today," he said. For the first time since he'd found her, something in her expression changed. Not defiance, not command. Uncertainty. And beneath it, the faintest spark of trust. Vale had almost cleared the outer courtyard when his motion tracker flared crimson. 3 fast-moving signatures. Closing. Princess Lyrie's tendrils twitched faintly against his armor, her focus sharpening despite the tremor in her breathing. "Imperial Reclamation Unit," she whispered. "They hunt in triangular formations." He shifted behind a shattered transport hull, lowering her carefully against its scorched plating while keeping one arm braced around her. "Good," he said, adjusting his aim. "I hate straight lines." The first soldier emerged through the smoke, sleek obsidian armor, energy spear humming at full charge. It moved low, sweeping left. "Do not fire," Lyrie murmured. "That one drives you toward the others." Vale held. A second heat signature blinked on his HUD, elevated, cloaked along a fractured balcony. "There," she breathed. He pivoted upward and fired. The VX, 9 cracked, blue-white plasma streaking through the haze. The cloaked sniper shimmered into view just long enough for the bolt to punch through its chest plate. It fell without a sound. The ground unit lunged. "Now," she said. Vale rolled sideways instead of back, dragging her with him just enough to break the flanker's predictive arc. He fired mid-roll, catching the second soldier as it burst from cover. Explosion! The transport hull absorbed most of the blast, shrapnel skittering across his armor. Only the spear wielder remained. It charged. Lyri's eyes narrowed, calculations racing behind their glow. 3 steps before it commits to thrust, she whispered. Got it. 1. Vale steadied his breathing. 2. The alien accelerated. 3. He surged forward instead of retreating. You are impossible, she said. Been called worse. At the last second, he dropped low. The spear sliced air where his head had been. He drove the rifle muzzle upward and fired point-blank into the soldier's exposed undercarriage seam. The blast tore through it in a burst of molten fragments. Silence returned, broken only by distant sirens and collapsing stone. Vale rose slowly, scanning for additional contacts. Lyri studied him, her luminous markings pulsing faintly brighter. You deviated from optimal defensive positioning, she said. Yeah, he replied, offering a hand to steady her against him again. But I had optimal intel. Her gaze lingered on him a heartbeat longer than necessary. Impressive shooting, she breathed. He smirked behind his visor. Impressive royalty. A faint shimmer, almost a laugh, rippled through her bioluminescent lines. For the first time since the Citadel fell, they weren't simply survivor and burden. They were a team. They reached the lower sanctum beneath the ruined citadel just as Vale's HUD lit up with fresh contacts. Multiple hostiles. Closing fast. The chamber below was untouched by the bombardment, ancient, circular, carved from luminous stone that pulsed faintly as if alive. At its center stood a crystalline structure shaped like an open flower, its petals hovering in suspended orbit around a core of liquid light. Lyri inhaled sharply. The Heart Spire, she whispered. Pre-Imperial technology. Of course it is, Vale muttered. He lowered her carefully onto the dais. The crystal reacted instantly, threads of pale energy stretching toward her fractured wing and crushed shoulder. It can restore catastrophic biological damage, she said. But it was sealed for a reason. Because it explodes? He asked. No. Her eyes met his. It binds. The chamber trembled as distant explosions echoed above. He glanced at the entrance. Bind how? It creates a biological bond, she said. He blinked. Define bond. Permanent. Outside, heavy footsteps pounded down the corridor. His motion tracker filled with red. It synchronizes neural pathways, she continued, voice steady despite the faint tremor in her glow. Emotional states. Pain thresholds. Instinctual responses. 2 life patterns interwoven. And if we don't, my injuries will terminate me within the hour. Of course they will. Energy tendrils brushed his armor now, reacting to his proximity. It was designed for royal pair bonding in times of extinction, she said softly. Unity as survival. The implication settled between them. Intimate. Irreversible. Enemy fire blasted through the upper corridor. Stone cracked. Dust rained from the ceiling. You understand, she added quietly, that if you activate it, your species may consider you compromised. Pretty sure they already do. A section of the sanctum entrance collapsed inward. Armored silhouettes moved through the smoke. Her luminous gaze held his, not commanding now, not royal. Uncertain. If you step away, she said, no dishonor follows you. He looked at the incoming enemy signals. Then at her. Then at the shattered wing, the fading light beneath her skin. Yeah, he said, stepping fully onto the dais beside her. I've made worse decisions. The crystalline petals snapped inward. Light engulfed them both. And as the enemy breached the chamber, 2 heartbeats prepared to become one. The heart spire detonated in radiance. Not heat. Not flame. Radiance that felt like memory. Vale's breath hitched as something vast and ancient poured through him. Star maps, royal oaths, centuries of Ethran strategy encoded in living light. He felt Lyri's mind brush against his, cool, precise, luminous. And beneath it, her fear, her strength, her will. He felt her thoughts before she spoke them. Left corridor. 6 hostiles. 1 heavy. I see it, he answered, though he hadn't checked his HUD. Because he didn't need to. Energy laced up his spine, not painful but electric. His cracked armor seems fused as crystalline filaments overlaid the metal. The damage indicator on his thigh vanished as alien light reinforced weakened joints. Across from him, Lyri rose. Her shattered wing membranes reformed in sweeping arcs of translucent brilliance. Fractures along her shoulder sealed with flowing silver light. The broken circlet on her brow reshaped itself into something sharper, brighter. Not just a princess. Something more. The sanctum doors exploded inward. Imperial reclamation troops surged through smoke and falling debris. Vale didn't raise his rifle consciously. She felt his trigger pull before he fired. The first volley carved a perfect line through advancing soldiers, because she had already calculated their stagger pattern. He pivoted left before the flank could form. She stepped right, luminous wing snapping outward to deflect a plasma bolt that would have struck his blind side. They moved, not as 2 beings, but as a single will. A heavy weapons unit charged its cannon. 3 seconds, she projected. He sprinted forward. She amplified. Energy surged along his rifle, overcharging the VX-9 beyond human specifications. He fired just as the cannon discharged. The collision of forces detonated midair, shockwave flattening the first rank of enemies. 2 troopers leapt from the upper balcony. She pivoted. He ducked. Her wings swept, knocking one from the air. He fired point-blank into the other's chest seam without looking. The chamber filled with falling armor and fading light. Silence returned like a curtain dropping on a finished act. Vale stood at the center of it, breath steady. Lyri stood beside him, luminous wings half spread. Through their bond, he felt her awe. Through the same bond, she felt his stubborn satisfaction. The battlefield had changed. Not because a princess was saved. Not because a soldier disobeyed orders. But because a human refused to walk away. And turned unity into a weapon. The Imperial ships broke formation first. From orbit, Vale could feel the shift through Lyri's awareness, confusion rippling through enemy command channels, hesitation fracturing once perfect discipline. Reports of the Heartspire's activation spread faster than weapons fire. They had expected a corpse. Instead, they saw a reborn princess standing beside a human soldier, their movements synchronized with impossible precision. The reclamation fleet withdrew. Not in defeat. In uncertainty. Smoke still curled from the Citadel ruins as emergency coalition craft descended at last. Human command channels buzzed with demands for explanation. Ethrin loyalists broadcast encrypted calls for Lyri's status. Between the noise, there was a quiet space only the 2 of them shared. And in that quiet, something shifted. Lyri went still. Her luminous markings softened, pulsing in a rhythm Vale hadn't felt before. "There's something you should know," she said quietly. Through their bond, he felt it before she finished. A subtle current beneath their shared awareness. Not her thoughts. Not his. A third presence. He froze. "That's new," he murmured. "Yes." Her gaze lifted to meet his, and for the first time since he had met her, the regal composure faltered. "The Heartspire does not merely restore life," she said. "It ensures continuity." He swallowed slowly. Define continuity. When 2 life patterns are fully synchronized under extinction conditions, it may initiate convergence. The word echoed between them. Convergence. Through the bond, he felt it more clearly now. A faint spark nestled where their neural signatures overlapped. Small. Fragile. Not fear. Potential. "It is unprecedented between species," Lyri continued. "Biologically improbable. Politically destabilizing. No kidding. A human captain and an alien princess bound by ancient royal technology was already controversial. A child born of that bond. That would shatter treaties. Redraw alliances. Ignite factions on both sides. Through their connection, he felt her concern, not for herself, but for what this would mean. Hardliners in her empire would call it corruption. Some humans would call it contamination. He let out a slow breath. "And what do you call it?" he asked. Her luminous eyes shimmered. "Hope," she said. The spark pulsed faintly in response. Above them, ships from both civilizations held cautious distance in orbit. No one fired. No one advanced. Because somewhere in the ruins below, something had happened that neither side had prepared for. Unity was no longer theoretical. It had a heartbeat. And whether their peoples were ready or not, the future had just become shared. Months later, the battlefield was a memory. The Ethrin royal citadel no longer smoldered beneath a torn sky. Reconstruction spires rose where artillery had once stood. Human engineers worked beside Ethrin crystal shapers, their tools humming in harmonized frequencies instead of clashing fire. Where there had once been war, there was collaboration. It hadn't been easy. Human command had convened emergency councils. Ethrin nobles had challenged Lyri's authority. Analysts predicted unrest. Commentators predicted collapse. Instead, something unexpected happened. Curiosity outpaced fear. Joint task forces formed to study the Heartspire, carefully, respectfully. Trade corridors reopened under shared oversight. Mixed patrols began orbiting former conflict zones. Not allies. Not yet. But no longer enemies. In a quiet chamber overlooking the rebuilt courtyard, soft bioluminescent light pulsed in steady rhythm. Vale stood beside Lyri, no armor now, just a formal uniform bearing both coalition insignia and the sigil of Ethrin's royal house. The bond between them had settled into something deeper than the intensity of battle. Constant. Certain. Within a cradle of living crystal rested their child. Small fingers, 3 slender, 1 distinctly human thumb, curled instinctively around the edge of the cradle. Translucent wing buds shimmered faintly behind delicate shoulders. Opalescent skin carried threads of silver light that pulsed in gentle synchrony with Vale's heartbeat. Golden-violet eyes blinked open. Curious. Aware. Through the bond, he felt Lyri's awe as sharply as his own. "This child will face resistance," she said softly. "Yeah," he replied. "So did we." Outside the chamber, human diplomats and Ethrin envoys debated integration policies. Military leaders restructured doctrines that no longer made sense in a world where unity had proven more powerful than annihilation. Their child was proof that survival wasn't the pinnacle of evolution. Unity was. Vale remembered the acrid scent of plasma that first day. The shattered stone. The silence after chaos. The moment his HUD showed no friendly signals. He had been ordered to leave her behind. He hadn't. He had entered that battlefield alone. As tiny fingers tightened around his hand and Lyri's luminous warmth brushed his thoughts, he knew with absolute certainty he would never be alone again.